I remember finally turning loose of everything in my career to God. And I just said, look, I can work circles around people all day long, but at some point you have to open doors for me that I can't open myself. And you have to close doors that aren't meant for me. I don't care about being famous. I want to go on a stage in front of 100,000 people, and I want to make people feel what I felt as a kid, walking around with this little Walkman, singing Alan Jackson songs and Tim McGraw sons.
It sounds to me like God was letting you figure all that out so that you could get to a place like this to where when it really mattered, you had it figured out.
Without a doubt, I would not have been ready for this moment had I had not went through what I went through. Like the first few years as a songwriter, for whatever reason, was just like lightning in a bottle for me. Like that thing started this like wave of cut after cut after cut. My first 2 singles, radio singles, went to radio the same exact day. I feel like this is such a cool thing you guys are doing, and how it's just centered around like big elements of my life and pillars of my life with God and faith and the outdoors and, you know, all that stuff, man. And just, you know, I watch, you know, I've seen several of our mutual buddies come on here, and so I was laying in bed the other night, and I was like, man, I'm going to hit Tyler up and see if we can come hang out with you guys and see what it's all about. So here we are.
I got a little girl that used to swing right there.
If you help me find a title to this record, I'll glorify you every time. I will say your name every time that I talk about how I got the title track to this record.
Did you scope yourself?
You may tell the story?
Yeah.
I want everybody in the world to have the joy that comes from God.
He wants to give you things. He just wants you to ask, because if you ask something, then you can acknowledge when it was given. So if you can acknowledge when it was given, you can give him glory.
My grandpa dude was the same way. Like, he might as well have been Jesus Christ to me when I was like 10, you know.
Hey, Jesus is enough. Jesus is enough. I promise you.
Y'all gonna reach a lot of people. I'm proud of y'all, man. This is so cool.
Thanks.
Y'all keep this going.
That kind of dirt cheap.
Y'all ain't afraid to dig deep, which I freaking love. So.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for some time to set aside to just be in community and talk about you and how good you are and how just gracious and you are. And God, we just pray that you guide this conversation. You let it fall on hungry ears and hungry hearts. And we ask all this in the mighty name of Jesus. In His name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Come on, baby. Oh, I got to put my hat on. Can't be out here free flowing the hair like that. Can't be showing no bald spots on the camera, bro.
Hey, I saw them engagement pics.
Dude, I think that lady, I don't think I know she did.
What?
I know she photoshopped the back of my head. I told her to.
Added a few extra strands up there.
She was like, everything was great. I knew, look, first of all, I liked the way my hair looked that day, to be honest. She started being like, y'all like walk in front of me and I'll take pictures while y'all are walking or whatever. Dude, as soon as I started walking, I was like, dang, I know she can see the back of my head.
You can feel the
right?
breeze
I could feel
up
it,
there,
dude.
huh?
I was like, man, listen, I said, when you start editing these pictures, if you like these from the back here, like, just fix my hair. And she just kind of laughed like, yeah, whatever, it's all good. Like, as soon as I got one of the pictures back, though, I was looking at it and I zoomed in and I was like, I know from doing this myself, that is not the back of my head.
Yep.
Like, she brushed my hair over with, like, the thing or whatever.
Please tell me y'all have seen that that college football post on the SEC network where Paul Feinbaum and Tim Tebow and Marcus Spears are all talking. They were talking about how, like, Tim Tebow's got like a high and tight cut, and they were like, Marcus Spears was like, Tim, what are you telling when you going to get a haircut? He's like, oh, just 2 on the side, faded in. They all turned to Paul. Paul's got the blades. They said, Paul, what do you tell him? He said, leave the sides.
Leave the sides.
It's going to be me one day, bro.
Leave the sides.
Dude, this is so bad.
Oh, God.
I literally took a picture of my head the other day and put it in chat and was like, dude, am I done for or can I fix this? And it was like, man, you'd have to do
nature,
a lot.
bro.
Yeah. I don't ask enough people. I got it. It is what it is, man. Good thing I like hats.
Yeah. Well, good thing old Adam here has on the cowboy hat, so we wouldn't be able to know. With that being said, we'd like to welcome our guest, Mr. Adam Sanders.
Come on.
What's up,
on
boys?
the GodDog Podcast, man.
Episode
Thanks for coming
23.
in here. And I'll kind of intro you a little bit and I'm sure these people are going to know who you are, but we're sitting down with Mr. Adam Sanders. He is just gotten off the TV show The Road.
Yes, sir.
And very successful songwriter and artist. Adam's written some hit songs for Luke Bryan, Dierks Bentley, Blake Shelton, Drew Baldridge, and as well as #1 songs for Dustin Lynch, Hell of a Night, and Cole Swindell with You Ain't Worth the Whiskey. And he wrote Tough People with Drew Baldridge, which also was a top 10 this year. So
massive.
Yeah, the boy's doing all right.
Yeah.
And he pulled up in a brand new Duramax. I was like,
with a headlight knocked
with
out.
a headlight missing. That's right. So, yeah, dude, thank you for coming on here. I know that you and I have been buddies for a while, and you know it's funny. Cotton, come here. People text me every now and then, or like a name pops up that it's not like we haven't talked, but sometimes the podcast is just so all of the wayside of what we do. Jasper and I just do it in our free time, and when you text me, I was like, we got to have Adam on here. I don't know why we hadn't talked about this yet, but
yeah, man, I enjoy watching this. I feel like this is such a cool thing you guys are doing, and how it's just centered around like big elements of my life and pillars of my life with God and faith and the outdoors and, you know, all that stuff, man. And just, you know, I watch, you know, I've seen several of our mutual buddies come on here, and so I was laying in bed the other night, and I was like, man, I'm going to hit Tyler up and see if we can come hang out with you guys and see what it's all about.
I'm glad you did. Yeah. Whenever he texted me, I was like, that's so weird, because the night before I'd seen you liked the Drew Parker post.
Yes.
And then when I saw your name pop up, I was like, why haven't we had him on here yet? So it's kind of like perfect timing for sure. You'll be one of the first episodes of the new year, dude.
Heck yeah.
Very exciting. I guess we can get into it. Tyler mentioned that you were on.
well, yeah, go ahead. Actually,
No, you got it.
I was just gonna say, just because I know a little bit of the story, like, just start out with Nashville and like maybe then how you got to the road,
Yes.
and then we can kind of tie a bow on it there, but not to say don't
give it
ask that
away
question.
at the beginning.
But I mean, we can. There's just you have a really good story, and I think there's a lot
sure.
that we can talk about, because I mean, I know as a songwriter and Jasper too, like it's very relatable. And is the camera good?
Yeah.
Oh, you're scaring me, bro.
I'm just being producer over here, bro.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just a really relatable story, and how the faith elements involved is awesome. So, when'd you move here? What'd you do? You know?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the rundown, man. I grew up in a little small town in North Florida called Lake City, which is right over the line of, you know, the Georgia line. It's about 45 minutes from Valdosta. And, man, music was A1 from day one for me. Like, I literally started singing and playing when I was 2 or 3 years old. All my family is musically inclined. My dad can play guitar. My mom can sing and play piano. Both of my grandfathers were gospel singers and sort of regionally known acts, you know, in the area. And so, man, I was just bit with the music bug really early. And it's all I've ever thought about, really. You know, like I grew up just like every other Southern, you know, small town kid, loving sports and, you know, going to the rivers and, you know, cleaning my truck when I got 16 and going to field parties and, you know, all the stuff. And music was the constant through that whole thing. And so the fate of how I got started in the music industry, though, was when I was 12 years old, my uncle called me, who is in the music industry. He's a session musician, so he's a steel guitar player, and he plays on...
Is he still?
Yes, and he plays on, like, he's played on tons of stuff, everything from Taylor Swift to, you know, George Jones to all the Cody Johnson stuff recently, and just like on and on and on. He's, you know, one of the top guys, and he called me when I was 12, and he said, hey, have you ever thought about writing songs? And for me, at 12 years old, like, that didn't compute. I just knew that, like, Alan Jackson was my childhood idol, and I knew I loved to sing and, you know, play music. And so he said, you should look into writing songs. He said, I know you want to move to Nashville one day. That could be your way into the business. So I was like, okay. So I hung up the phone. The next day, my dad helped me write my first song at 12.
Dang.
Started writing in high school. I'd go to these field parties, you know, after football games, you know, and we'd be sitting around a bonfire, and I'd break out my guitar and I'd play them a song I'd written that week, you know, and you know, all my classmates were like, oh, that's awesome, you know. And so I moved to Nashville in 2009, and I worked in construction with my dad in Nashville, because my dad had already moved to Nashville because my parents got a divorce when I was about 10 years old. So I move in with him, work in construction, and 2 years later, I ended up signing a publishing deal with Big Yellow Dog Music, and 6 months into my first pub deal, I got my first cut on a Luke Bryan album, Crash My Party album. And man, that was kind of like what started it all. So it's like literally the fate was all because my uncle planted a seed when I was 12, and I just sort of followed through with it, and then it just came to be, when I got to Nashville.
I have so many questions just on that stuff.
Yep.
First of all, what was the cut for the Crash My Party album?
A song called Out Like That.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think me and Tyler were talking about that. It might have been me and him. I was talking about that album the other day. Dude, that album is still like one of those ones you can put on repeat, shuffle, and it just goes through, and I'm not skipping any of this.
Dude, it's wild. I think it was named Album of the Decade by ACM, which is crazy. I have a plaque at my house that was like, I think it was when it was 2 million. I think it's well over like 5 million at this point. Like it's one of the, like there was an Aldine album back in the day, the Luke album. Like those were the two albums of like our like early 20s and upbringings. I feel like
I remember where I was when the album came out, and I know like literally what I was doing when it came out, listening to it with everybody. It defined the rest of my high school career.
Yep.
And we've probably talked about it on here too, but like I went to the first concert I ever went to by myself without my parents was a Luke Bryan concert. And it was with, like, he was touring that album. And I was sitting in the nosebleeds of Oak Mountain Amphitheater watching him play. And I was like, I think that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Yep. So it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's wild. I wrote that song with Cole Swindell and Aaron Goodvin. And Cole was selling T-shirts for Luke at the time, and we had just written the song, and I think it was literally like one of the first songs I had written in Big Yellow Dog's building when I got there as like an official first write. And yeah, they were out on the road, and Cole played it for Luke, and it was wild because Cole called me freaking out and was like, hey, Luke loves this, and he wants to cut it. And then a week later, it was like, man, I don't think it's going to make the album. And then it was like, hey, they might single it, like all the emotions, and you guys have been through all of that. And one of the coolest things that ever happened to me, and still to this day, after all the cool things I've been able to do and been blessed to have in my career, this was like the moment that told me I belong here and like gave me a lot of confidence. So it just so happened, fast forward, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, I'm sitting at Sony with Michael Carter and Cole Swindell. We're writing a song, and Luke calls Cole's phone, and I see his name pop up on the phone. And that day they were in the studio recording the album, and I was thinking in my mind, like, are you gonna pick that up? You gonna let it go to voicemail? And he picked up the phone, and he was like, hey, get Sanders and come down to Ocean Way. And so we jump in the car, stop the song that we were writing, walk in the door, and they're just hitting the intro lick to Out Like That. And I walk in the door, and Luke gives me a big hug, and he says, hey, man, congratulations on your first cut. Like, I wanted you to be here. And, like, the fact that he would go out of his way to know that that was my first cut and what that would mean for me was just like, man, it doesn't get any better than that. I got to watch it, go down, in the studio. And so that was a very, very cool moment for me.
That's awesome.
Yep. Wow.
That's sick.
Yeah, because I can just like think about it and be like,
I didn't know that story.
Yeah,
that's so sick. Back to your uncle. Mm-hmm. So does he play on your stuff?
Oh yeah.
I was about to say he has to, right?
Yeah, man. He's when I can afford him, shoot, he's no
family cuts. Huh?
Yeah, he's been a great, like, he's never been like an uncle to me that is like ever went around and said like how great my nephew is, but he's always been like a voice of reason of like, hey, you should try this. You should think about this. Like he would just sort of like just plant little things. And, so I've always really enjoyed that because he's so well respected around town. And the cool thing is when I bring his name up to like sessions, I'm like, hey, I'm Scotty Sanders' nephew. And like all the session guys are like, no way, we love Scotty, and like there's just this validation. And so when I moved to Nashville and I'm working in construction, I would take a couple days off when I had a little money saved up, and I would just go shadow him in the set in like studios. Like I'd get his schedule that week, and he'd say, "Hey, I'm at County Q 10, 2, and 6 today," and I'd just go sit in on a session, and I'd get them to print me out a chart, because that's how they, record the music, and I'd get the Nashville number system, and I'd sit there and just like learn it. And I learned how to read charts just by being there. And then by association, I would start seeing the same writers over and over and over. And like after 2 or 3 months, people were like, hey, you want to write sometime? You know, sort of thing. Like it was almost like by validation, you were in the room, you were kind of cool enough to be in the room. And so, man, it was just a really cool time. And I treated it as like I was going to school, like literally, like I, was getting a degree in like that side of the business, which was recording and, all that. So
it's got to be a really awesome feeling to like have a family member in the room with you while you're doing it, who's also into it and done it before you.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be cool. I don't know if I would ever even, like, I'll never know what that feels like unless I have a son one day who wants to do it,
Right,
Yeah.
So that's pretty sick and rare.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't take for granted the fact that having him in the business and then also my dad and a lot of my dad's side of the family living in Nashville, like, like you guys both moved here and like didn't know anyone, didn't have any family. Like you might have known some buddies that sort of came up, but I always knew that at least I had a roof over my head. Now, mind you, when I first moved here, my dad was living in a single wide trailer, like in a trailer like park, but I knew at least that if I fell on my face, at least I had a place to sleep. Like a lot of people get caught up in that of like, man, like they can't make the money and they're sleeping in the cars or they got to move home, they're running out of money. And so at least I had that stability, which was huge for me.
Yeah, definitely a blessing for sure.
Yeah, that's huge, man. And I feel like I've been around you a lot when your family's around and everybody's just so loving. And it seems like y'all are pretty tight, like your brother and stuff.
Absolutely.
Y'all seem to have like really healthy relationships. And
and my brother's here
supportive.
because of, like me moving up here. And I don't know if I wouldn't have taken the leap of faith if my brother wouldn't have moved from our small town. And so, like, I think he looked at that as, a little bit of inspiration to sort of get out. And so it's been cool, man. I've said many times that if my career ended tomorrow and I didn't do anything else in music, I probably live in the Nashville area forever just because, like, it's home to me and I have family here. And, so this is where I want to be, the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, where's deer hunting fall in all that story?
Oh,
or
man.
all those stories?
So
Because I can't help but, between the plaques, there's some antler.
Yeah,
up on those
there's
walls.
a few. Got lucky a few times. Man, so because my dad moved to Nashville when I was 10, I was a kid that didn't really grow up with a father figure that could take me to the outdoors. Because I would come up during the summers and see my dad. There's a few times that I remember hunting with my dad as a kid, but I don't know if you guys knew this, but my mom married a guy when I was about 7 years old that was a quadriplegic. He was paralyzed from the waist down. And so my whole childhood, my stepdad was in a wheelchair. And so me and my brothers, would take care of him. And, he could drive. He had like hand controls to drive. He could mow the grass with a push mower, and he would have his power wheelchair. And like we would help him in and out of bed and all these things. So I didn't really have that father figure that could do outdoorsy type things. But I did have an uncle, which is my mom's dad, who was a massive deer hunter, massive outdoorsman, and he would take me. We would go up to the edge of Georgia and we would run dogs, or we would still hunt behind his house, and he'd take us fishing. And it was something I enjoyed, but it wasn't like this major passion of mine until after I got to Nashville. And how that happened was I knew that after I'd been here for about a year, and I started to see a pattern and a trend, and you guys will relate to this a lot. When you move here, you got to go network. You got to go meet people and find your crew. And I knew that I didn't want to be a guy that like stayed in the bar scene and like was, when you didn't have anything else to do, you just go to the bar. And we all know those people that like just get stuck in that environment. And so I thought to myself, man, I need a yin to the yang. Like, this music industry thing is so fast paced, and we're all the time around, probably not so godly things sometimes. And what can get me separated from that and be therapeutic in a way? And so I thought, all right, I'm either going to try to get really good at golf, or I want to really dive into this outdoor stuff. And the reason I chose the outdoors was because golf, to me, as I like played this through my head, I'm thinking, all right, you're probably not going to golf by yourself. You're probably going to golf with some buddies. And most golf trips, you've got a buddy that's going to say hole number 4, hey, you want a beer? And then the next thing you know, you're kind of back in that environment again, and so like hunting to me, especially like whitetail hunting, is all about like being still and like solitary, like away from people. And so that's why I started doing it. And so I had a friend of mine that was really big into bow hunting, and he took me in Lebanon, and I shot a doe with a bow for the very first time. I'd killed one deer before prior in Florida. It was my first deer ever. But I didn't really kill a lot of deer until I started getting in Nashville and shot a doe, and like just hearing that sound of an arrow hitting a deer was like, all right, that's cool. But what really set the hair on it was my dad he later bought 72 acres in a foreclosure deal in Goodlettsville, and I was able to shoot 2 150s in 1 year off of it, and that was like,
it was over.
I'm in this thing for life, and so man, I've been a big deer hunter ever since, and turkey hunter, and so man, I've been very blessed and fortunate to shoot some really good deer and travel and go to some cool places, and man, it's just therapeutic for me. You guys know, man, like I get so much out of it's so much more than just like shooting an animal.
Oh, yeah.
I get song ideas. I talk to God. I just like it's like therapy. Like literally, it's like just to go and just cleanse your soul from all the stuff that we're around all the time. And so I don't know where I would be without it.
Yeah. I think we could both say that.
Yeah, I feel like you're that way with fishing too, and I'm not the fisherman. You definitely are more. He knows all the stuff about that.
Yeah.
I'm
freshwater.
Yeah, but I like it. If it bites, I'm on it.
Yeah.
he likes it.
But it's funny because I'm the same way, and it's funny that he brought that up because I was going to bring up the fishing thing too. Like I do love to hunt, and then also thank you for saying that because like I also didn't really get into hunting until I was older too. Mm-hmm. And I still don't have it all figured out. And like, I want to do it and I'll get into it and I'll fall out of it and blah, 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 whatever, story for another time. But fishing was that for me. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because as much as I love to hunt and be in the woods, because of what you were just talking about, like the hustle and the bustle and the music life and like all these things going through our head, dude, I almost don't do good deer hunting when I have to be still. Like it's almost too much stillness for me to think. And so
I feel that
to his point of like, I just love fishing because it was my first thing before hunting ever came along. Like I was fishing with my papa, skipping schools as a kid, spending the night doing that. So that's part of it. But the other thing is like, I don't have a boat. I did have a boat, but I don't. And I like the thing that made me fall in love with fishing was when I started like finding rivers that were extremely hard to get to, that there was no one else at, and I wade fish them. Even before I started fly fishing, I was bass fishing that way. Like barefoot, no shirt, just roughing it. Like I love that. But I'm so immersed in doing it and moving around and thinking about what I'm looking for and looking at that I don't have time to think about the things that are on my mind. So it's like, it's almost like I need to be busy doing this thing I have to be immersed in to not think about stuff versus sitting in the tree with too much time to think. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing I want to bring up on that, and I'm curious to know if you've ever felt this. I notice when deer season starts or turkey season, it takes me 3 good sits before I feel like my body calms down and like can be in the woods. Like the first couple sets, I'm fidgety, I'm moving, I'm checking my phone. I'm just kind of like, my mind's racing too much. I realized I forgot my bow hanger. Like I just don't have it all. Like I'm not slowed down enough to like be in that environment. And it takes me about 3 hunts. And then it's like, then I could literally go and just sit and not move a muscle for 4 hours. It's such a weird thing. And I don't know what that is, but like, I can kind of identify with that a little bit sometimes that like, too much, it's like it's too still, like, and I think it's because we're running 100 miles an hour and then you go straight to stop and it's like you don't know what to do with yourself, sort of thing. And so I've caught myself a lot, and I've even like the first hunt this year. Matter of fact, I remember going and getting set up and forgot half my stuff and didn't really have everything all put together, and deer coming in and I'm just moving too quick, sort of thing. And a deer looks up at me, and blows, and I'm like, I'm just not in like my body. I just haven't slowed down enough to be like a killer yet. Like in it, like I'm just too all over the place, and it took a little bit. But
yeah, do you feel that way, or can you lock in? pretty quick?
No, 100%. I think for me, sometimes it's more or less like the first couple hunts, they're the best. So there's the most on the line. And I'm like so over focused on like got to get the right tree with the right wind at the right like morning or evening, and can't be before this date. But I would really, he's been daylighting. There's just a lot going on. And so I'm in there like pretty much just frantic, like you're saying, but I think I agree with all of that stuff. I think that for me, preparation of deer hunting, which is, like cutting the shooting lanes, putting the cameras out, for you, like the food plots and hanging a stand and all that stuff, that's like the equivalent of you throwing a top water and walking around a flat pond. Like my mind's occupied in a good way because I'm getting stuff done. It might not really matter like in the work, like, deer hunting is a hobby. It's not like, it matters in the sense of like, it's not putting food on the table or like helping my wife sleep at night, but to us as a man, like that is like therapeutic, like you said. But then there's also times like that mid-November reality sets in. Might have killed a deer, might not have, but you got a good chance, so you just go. Yeah. And then when I'm just going, I'm where you're talking about. I'm like, I'm calm. I'm like, I just got to be here. Yeah. Instead of like, I got to kill it. Yeah. Or it's got to be today. It's like time in this tree is going to kill something. Yeah. Not me being ready or like, just anything. It's more or less just sit still. Yeah. And I don't know.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, man. Like the preparation is where it's at for me. Like to me, out of all the memories I have hunting, I probably can tell you that like killing an animal is 10% of it. It's like you said, it's putting the cameras up, it's finding them, it's bush hogging fields and, putting up scrapes and all that stuff, man. Like I even tell my girlfriend, sometimes like, during the summer, I'll come home from like riding if I get in early and I'll hook to the side by side and she's like, where are you going? I was like, I just need to go to the farm. Yeah. Like I just, I gotta go change a battery. Like I will make a reason to go just so I can get out there, and like be a part of it, so.
There is something about that. Any of the prep stuff, whether it's hunting or fishing, like that does that. It's like the healthy version of like just not having idle hands, because like it's not the same in terms of like literally having equipment and tractors and everything out there in the woods, but like I really enjoy and have like a therapeutic moment just literally like tying my flies on, getting my tackle organized, getting my box set up, getting my stuff set up the night before to be like, I'm going to roll out in the morning, I'm going to have a blast driving there by myself and listening to this playlist that I listen to every time that I go to the river, whether I catch something or not. But I do love turkey hunting because to me it feels just like the way that I fish the rivers, like the moving around part and being more like sneaking around the corners and looking for this and that. Like I like that. Yeah. But okay, so hold on, let me back up to how old were you when you killed that first deer up here?
Those the doe that I killed here, or the 2 bucks that year here, or my first deer ever.
The first deer ever here.
The first year ever here, I would have been. So I moved when I was 21, so I was probably 22. Okay. But my first deer I ever killed was I was 16, and that was in Florida. And you guys. We grew up in Florida holding them like pencils, like so they was, you was proud, son. If it had a split, you did something. And funny thing is I shot this deer. I thought it was a doe, and it was a 3-point, and I didn't realize it till I got up on it, and I was like, oh my God, I killed a buck, sort of thing. And so, but yeah, man, it's and that was at 16, and then like I said, like I didn't really start falling off into it till probably 24, 25. But what changed it for me was like, and you may identify with this in like the fishing stuff. That year, whether it was probably looking back on it, some of it was luck to shoot those 150s in the same year, but some of it was also learning and being strategic of like, hey, I think I want to set here and I want to go this day and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so like, that's when it started to really click for me because it came fun because you're like, I'm learning stuff.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I'm taking knowledge and I'm seeing it play out.
Yep.
And that's when it's like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we do it,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Is being able to apply it. You know, like we have those moon phase talks once a year. Because I know Adam's my moon phase guy. if I ain't killed something by November 10th, I'm like, I need to call Adam, see what
the moon phase is this week.
But yeah, I completely agree, bro. It's that is why we do it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want Carrie to get mad at us. So let's move back along to music.
Okay.
So you get here, you have that Luke cut, and by the way, Carrie is your day-to-day or your manager.
Yeah, she does a lot.
Yeah,
of
but you made that
stuff.
sound like it was his mom or his wife.
Yeah.
Well,
Mom Carrie.
y'all both looked at me when I said it. I was like, what's up? I was just picking on her, but so you came here, you got the Luke stuff. I think you had a song on the highway, maybe a couple, and then those number ones we talked about. You want to like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so like everything kind of started with the Luke song, and man, like the first few years as a songwriter, for whatever reason, was just like lightning in a bottle for me. Like that thing started this like wave of cut after cut after cut, and it was like I would get one in each like artist like batch. I wasn't like stacking multiple up per se. Like I got one with, you know, Luke, and I got one with Dirk Bentley, and I got one with Tyler Farr and Dustin and Cole, and like, but all that started spilling over into like just getting cuts. And my first two singles, radio singles, went to radio the same exact day.
What?
Which is wild.
Holy crap.
Extremely rare for those of you who don't know.
So
What?
Ain't Worth the Whiskey and Hell of a Night go for ads to radio the same day. And Ain't Worth the Whiskey, I think it was 24 weeks it took it to go number one. Hell of a Night, it took 56 weeks.
I did not know this.
And then after that, those go number one. And I follow up with another song that Michael Ray recorded called Real Men Love Jesus.
I love that song. I didn't even know you wrote that.
Yes,
Such a
me and the
banger.
Warren Brothers and Lance Miller. And
Let's just take a moment to say that song deserves more credit even now in
Yes.
2025, 2026 than it does. Like
Yeah.
that thing is fire.
well, thank you,
Yeah.
man. It was one of my favorite songs, you know, that I've ever been a part of. And so this song gets to like top 15, and I'm sitting on two number ones. I'm 24, 25 at this time, and man, I'm gonna tell you right now, like my head couldn't have fit through that door.
I've been buying boats and
Bro,
trucks.
I was
Couldn't tell
I was
you
literally,
nothing.
I was 15 slots away from getting a triple play award. And you know, for those of you that don't know what a triple play award is when you get 3 number ones in a calendar year. And it's so rare. I mean, there's probably 5 or 6
Randy
guys.
got it.
Yeah, you know, 5 or 6 guys each year from each PRO that gets that total of maybe 15, 20 riders each year, you know, Nashville that accomplishes that. And for me to be thinking that that's going to happen, you know, at 24, 25 is, like I said, like I just was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And they pulled it off a radio on Easter weekend, which was,
Oh my gosh.
I thought kind of sacrilegious. It was like, how can you pull a song about Jesus off the radio on Easter,
They
you know,
couldn't
sort of
wait.
thing. And,
Golly.
I can't believe that they pulled that.
well, from what we were told, that the stations that were going to play the song had played it, and the ones that weren't going to play it were not going to play it. So it had kind of like...
Was it because
Yeah,
of the
was it-
Jesus thing? Probably. Had to be. I mean, that's definitely it.
I'll tell you this.
Oh my gosh,
fun fact about the song. The first line of the song, we wrote it as Real Men Love Women, Fast Cars and Living. They changed it to Real Men Love Fishing, Fast Cars and Living. And when we wrote it, I wasn't thinking the way they were thinking of why of changing it. We were thinking as in, okay, real men love women as in they want a woman not like a girl, you know, that's
Right.
immature. They want a mature woman. they took it as we were saying that men shouldn't love men also, and only women, and they took it as like a little bit of like, maybe we need to change it to fishing.
Good Lord.
It's a good thing this man's got stuff going on, because if he didn't, boy, I'd rip.
Man, yeah. So that was a fun fact, but yeah. So all this has happened in the songwriting world, and I moved to Nashville to be an artist, and I was just kind of hoping that one day someone was going to look up and say, like, all right, all these songs you're part of, like, why don't you sing them? And that's kind of exactly what happened. My publisher at the time, Big Old Dog, said, hey, we should start putting out some music on you. And so we started putting a few songs out independently as an artist. My first single that I put out was a song called Nothing to Do But Drink. And that song went to SiriusXM The Highway. John Marks was there and added as a highway find. And I think it got to number 5 on their highway chart. And then I followed it up with a song called Somewhere You Don't Go. And that song went to 4. And I have another song coming up. I don't know why. It was like the third song in my writing career and artist career, kind of like both took a nosedive. But I had a song called Thunder. And it was like getting played, and John Marks leaves SiriusXM, and all my plays get pulled out from under me. And so that one kind of took a nosedive, and so yeah, man, it was a pretty wild time in my early career here in Nashville.
I have so many thoughts. It sucks that song "Real Men Love Jesus" died when it died, because. And then whatever. No, you can't go back in time, but like with where the current state of the industry is, if that song came out today, it would be fitting right in time, and it would crush.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should honestly just think about re-releasing that on your own.
Oh, bro, TikTok would
dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it all came from a bumper sticker. Brad and Brett Warren came in to write that day, and I can't remember if it was Brad or Brett, but they said, hey, I saw this bumper sticker. Said Real Men Love Jesus, and I just kind of started playing this with progression, and man, like it just was off to the races. It was pretty wild.
It's so good. This is a question that doesn't matter for the listeners at all, but just for me, because I don't know. And I guess that would have, even for your artist careers, a little before streaming was as big as it is now.
Yeah.
How much better does a payout from the highway go versus streaming versus like normal radio?
Man, I don't really know, to be honest with you. I should know this. It's definitely better than streaming numbers, but I don't think it's not the same as terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the problem was, and why I didn't pay too much attention to this, was because the early years of my career, the first 3 or 4 songs, Big Yellow Dog pretty much owned those songs, so they saw a lot of that, and I didn't get to really see any of that money that was coming in. And when I got smart enough and realized how much money I was making them just off the streaming itself, and just downloads. I mean, that was back when we were still doing downloads, and
a lot more money.
I kind of looked at it. I was like, dang, like I need to own this, and so but yeah, it was pretty wild.
We've come so far, dude, because like it's so funny to think about just how music makes money, whether it's radio or highway or streams or downloads. And like the fact that you just brought up downloads just made me think like, what a world back then when it was like, oh, it's only 99 cents. It's like not that much compared to like a radio single. But like all of us right now, I'd be like, God, if we could just get the downloads. Like if I could get a download for every stream that I'd have, we'd be in a way nicer studio right now. We'd have a place downtown probably, you know what I mean?
Here's a thought for you. What is next after a stream?
I've thought about this 100 times, bro. And like, so I went to MTSU for music business.
Okay.
And we talked about this so much in there because I graduated from MTSU in 19, and we started having this conversation 2016, 17, like real debates in the classroom where at that point in time, I had not even fully adopted to paying for Spotify. I was still buying albums off of iTunes. Like I bought Crash and Party. I bought the Cole Swindell album. And I remember being the only one in there being like, I can't believe y'all pay for Spotify. Okay, now skip forward 2 years, I'm paying for Spotify and I ain't quit since, right? But even then we were like, with Netflix or music or even gaming, where it's like all the physical's dead, people are done even buying it online. To my point where I was going with that was they were saying there's a trend in the industry, whether it was cassettes to CD players, radio, downloads, streaming. It was like a 5 to 10 year period where everything changed. we've been in that and way past that with streaming now. I don't have a clue where it could possibly go from here. Like, I don't even know what the assumption could be made for. Like, I guess maybe everybody felt that way all along. But I feel like if you're in innovation and technology back then when cassettes were around, someone could have been like, yeah, dude, like eventually like we'll carry this in our pocket. And then it happens. They're like, well, eventually like you won't have to go to the store anymore. You can just download it from the internet. I see how that could have been like easy. I have no idea how you get past streaming now.
Well, it's crazy because it's the first way that it's not an intangible thing that you can't like touch.
That's what I mean.
Like 8-track tapes and then cassettes and CDs was still a physical thing.
Yeah.
And now it's digital, and you can't touch it anymore. So like, where is it and what's next? I mean, I don't know. I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, and they say that next is somewhere down the line is we're going to be able to sit here and have conversations without even talking to each other, and literally like you're gonna know what I think, and
I don't like that.
And like literally like
dude,
if I want to hear a song, all I gotta do is think about it, and it'll start playing in my head. Like it's
I don't
crazy,
like that.
Like
I don't want all the things that pop in my head to come to reality.
no,
Me neither.
no. Well, that's another thing too. Like they were talking about, they were like, can you imagine like a politician that is saying, like he's a good guy or not? If you could read his mind and know whether he was true or he's not, like how that would affect like people, but also too, how many random crazy thoughts do we all have on a daily basis
We'd all
that
be
like
locked up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like
On the way here, I was like, what if we hydroplaned and flipped 9 times?
I mean, dude,
well, it was raining hard enough. You might have.
I told him when he got in the car, I said, I can't see nothing, so just hang on tight. But dude, like, and I will make this quick because we'll get back to the music stuff, but on my way down here, I was supposed to go tour a new house closer to here because I live in Mount Juliet. And whatever, dude, I've been so irritated with trying to find a new house to rent, but I get on the thing and it's like, they didn't email me, they didn't text me. I'm on my way to tour the house and I log into the platform dashboard, whatever, and it's just on there, hey, the house is no longer available. I'm like, just so pissed off because I didn't get a notification. No one told me this while I'm driving there, right? So I called the number. No one, it's 800 numbered. I'm like, I can't wait for someone to answer the phone because I'm about to, I done had a week of enough to where whoever answers this phone was about to catch strays, bro. And the phone goes, hi, this is Amy. This is your AI assistant here. And I was like, dude, just the fact that it wasn't a real human being and it was telling me up front that I was AI, like, made me feel like Will Smith and iRobot. And I was like, I hope one day you become a real robot, Amy, and I'm going to blast you off my front porch with a 12-gauge shotgun and feel no remorse over it. Like, I cannot stand where this is all going with AI, bro. I can't even talk to a person about renting a freaking house, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's too much. Like, we're not doing these things for the right reasons, and it's driving me crazy. And he was like, okay, sorry, I had to get that out of my system. But to your point, I have no idea what we go with streaming after this. And whatever it is, I don't really care. I just hope they fix the money on it.
Yeah.
Which is hard to think that they will, but I doubt it too. But man, like, God, I feel bad for those people that are like, they're not lobbyists. Maybe some of them are, but the people that are really fighting for artists' rights and songwriters' rights. And it's like year after year, we get on Instagram and you'll see where some company is like going to Washington to fight for people here.
Yeah.
And then they don't win. And it's like, or when they do win, it's like, hey, your Spotify stream is going to go from 0.004 to 0.0041. It's like, and then Spotify comes out a year later and they're like, oh, well, but that's only if you're a subscription. And
well, it's made guys like myself have to get creative in the fact of like, man, I started cutting my songwriters in on a portion of my masters, like to justify me being able to cut a song that's not going to go to radio, and so like I carved out like a 10% portion. It's not a lot, but my thought is well, if I carve out 10% and this person carves out 10% and this person carves out 10%, by association, one writer can say, well, I got 10% from Adam, 10% from this person, 10%, like, and it starts to add up, by an accumulation is my thought process.
I
it's
agree
like
with
how to help, a little bit with that. Cause it's like, you're right. It's, who knows what's going to happen, but, I think I saw a story one time about like when the new CEO of Coca-Cola came in and he changed the price of Coca-Cola from 99 cents to $1. And that 1 cent difference made them an extra like $1 billion for
sure.
the year. So it's like same thing. It's
Yeah.
like, well, if I gave up 1 penny essentially, and you give up 1 penny, it's like you can create money to help, the songwriter.
Yeah, and there's something to that too. And I mean, that's the good part about owning at least the majority of your songs and being able to make decisions on that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're independent, because you want writers, if you are independent and not, heavy trending on the internet, it is hard to get in the room with a writer who feels, in your head that it's not that they don't like you or care about you, but they're looking for money too.
For sure.
They got to make a
feed the
living, so they
family.
need cuts. Like I told Tyler this last year, I was like, man, I really want to do a writer's retreat because there's a lot of songs that I want to finish that I want to put out. And a lot of the dudes that I would want to write those songs with, they have deals. And I was telling him, like, I feel like the only right way to get those people out of town to want to go do that is if I offered them percentages on the master, because I'm not naive to the fact that they're technically writing songs for an independent artist whose song's not going to go to the radio. Yeah. At the end of the day, the only person who's really going to benefit from it streaming heavy is me if I own the master. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't I be like, hey, I want to make this worth their time. I'm going to pay for the Airbnb in Gatlinburg, and everyone it's in the room. If you're on the room and it gets cut, you're all getting 5% or whatever the thing is to make you feel like it was worth your time. Because again, it's not that they don't love me or they wouldn't want to write the song, but it's like I'm taking them away from maybe writing a song or a cut for an artist that is going to go to radio. Yeah. And they need that now, so I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation because, man, like I've also said too that a lot of my cuts came from the guys that I came up with together. Like we all started to like kind of find our stride through the time, and so we've all been fortunate and blessed to write up with writers that are probably above our level of writing, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but finding the guys that are all kind of in the same level as you is can be a benefit also, because they're not worried about taking a percentage of the master because they're just trying to get things rolling too. So it's kind of a combination of both. I think can be done. But
so moving forward, how do you go from where you were with everything we just talked about, cuts, number ones, getting your own stuff on the highway, to then now more modern time update here of. And sorry, if I'm skipping over anything from now to then, we can totally jump on it. I just want to make sure we at least get you to be able to talk about the road stuff and how that all came about from where you were then to now.
Well, man, I want to back up just a little bit further. So everything is looking very healthy in my career at that time in my life. I've literally got like the number one management company, in the business, Red Light Management, and I'm at WME Booking, and we're out opening and playing shows for all these people. And for whatever reason, the goal was to sign a record deal, and I came really close to signing the deal at Sony. This would have been when Randy Goodman came in and took over at Sony, and from what I was told, that it was pretty much down to me and a guy named Kane Brown, and they literally brought me in and they said like, "Hey, you're the guy that has the stats. You've got the number ones you've written, you've got the shows you've played. If we sign you, you look like the next guy up that like deserves a deal. We've got this other guy, Kane Brown, who doesn't have any of that, but he has a social media following where he's getting millions of views, and we need to make a splash as our new male act signing, and we're going to sign Kane." And I was like, cool. And obviously, good choice. He's crushed it. He's one of the biggest in our format. So that was a kind of a hard blow for me. But I took a look within, and I thought, man, I want to figure out why it was a not right now and why it didn't work. And what I realized was I was a guy that was releasing good songs, but I did not have a brand. I did not have a thing. And I knew how to write hit songs for like the time period we were in, but as an artist, I didn't really have anything figured out, honestly, because I had spent all my time and focus and energy on just writing songs for other people. And so I kind of told my team, I was like, let's just kind of back away from like chasing any kind of deals. I need to go find what my thing is. And I was on an elk hunt in Colorado, and 5 words kept popping into my mind: family, faith, fitness, the outdoors, and 90s country music. And I just kept saying that over and over. And I realized that that was the 5 most important things in my life. And I was like, that needs to be the pillars of my brand. It's the most authentic thing of me. So when I brought that in, I felt like my team, their version of me was sort of over here and mine was over here, and we decided to kind of part ways. And so then I go down this road of completely independent, like with no management, no booking agent, nothing. Like it's just tore all the way down to the studs. And that started in about 2018, and man, we just slowly started to like build this thing up. And through 2018 through 2025, I would have a year where it was like trending up, and I'd be out opening for Carrie Underwood, and I was on a Dustin Lynch tour, and I bought a bus and like starting to like grow it back up. And then the next year it would just kind of like implode. And I was just kind of getting very weary of all of it. And I just kept like looking up to the sky like, God, why is this so hard? Like, why do I feel like I am just like scratching and clawing for every bit of success that I've had? And I kind of realized that I was starting to take too much of the credit for what I had accomplished, because I was falling in this dangerous mindset of, if I didn't work as hard as I've worked, I wouldn't even have what I do have. And that's the wrong way to look at it. It is, well, he's given you the strength to endure this, and you're walking through the doors, but he's ultimately pulling the strings. But I was feeling like I'm manifesting all this myself, because I'm picking up the phone and I'm connecting this dot here and doing this here, and it was just a bad place to be in. And so, man, about a year and a half ago, I think Tyler and I had sat around and talked about a lot of this. I was just in a very frustrated spot in just life in general, personally and musically. I just felt like the best days of my career were behind me, and I was like, man, like I accomplished all of the things I was supposed to accomplish at 24 when it should have been like now. And I remember finally turning loose of everything in my career to God. And I just said, look, I said, Lord, I can work circles around people all day long, but at some point you have to open doors for me that I can't open myself. And you have to close doors that aren't meant for me. And if you do that, I will put the work in and walk through them. But I am not going to spend every day thinking about how to connect this dot and how to play this or play that. And like, I'm going to let you do all that. And when I truly surrendered it in my heart is when things started to really trend back up. And I got a song back on country radio, which had been 8 years since I had a song on radio with Tough People and Drew Baldridge. And then I got a call to do the road. And man, where I'm sitting at today, I can honestly tell you that I think I am in the position I'm in because I gave it to God. And I can tell you I don't have a clue where this goes from here. I have no expectations. It would be very easy right now to, because of the position I'm in, to take it all back and say, all right, thanks, now I'm going to take control and like steer it this way. But man, I just refuse to do that. Like I'm done with that. And man, God knows my heart. He knows what my dreams and my goals are. But I had to get in the passenger seat and get out of the driver's seat.
That's awesome. It's funny to hear you say the expectation line, because when we had Drew on, he said the same thing, dude. He was like, I can honestly tell you for the first time in my whole entire career, I have no expectation of what's happening next. And he was like, I couldn't be more content with that. You know, there's a lot of freedom in that. It's just a hard place to get to. It's never a fun place to get to.
Never, man. I'm telling you. And you got to think, this is all I've ever thought about. Like I literally, I wasn't a kid that said, man, I want to be a baseball player one day, or I want to be a firefighter. Like being a country music singer is all I've ever wanted to do. And I also look back as an adult now, and I think, all right, I loved performing and singing at 3 years old just as much as I do today. And so I know that as a 3-year-old, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about any of that. I just love to sing. And so I've questioned myself as an adult. Am I doing it for the wrong reasons? And I've realized that there were times in my life where I took advantage of those things that some of this comes with. But it's always been about the love. Like, I don't care about being famous. I want to go on a stage in front of 100,000 people, and I want to make people feel what I felt as a kid walking around with this little Walkman singing Alan Jackson songs and Tim McGraw songs, just the feeling of it. And just the feeling of what it is to sing. Like, I could ride in my truck on a 6-hour trip and be perfectly fine with sitting by myself and singing my heart out for 6 hours on a road trip and love every second of it. And so, yeah, man, it's just always been about the music aspect of it for me.
It's awesome. What are you shaking your head for over there?
I just love it. I mean,
I do too.
It's like you said, it's not ever a fun place to get to, but it's a necessity for longevity, you know. Like, we can't do that on our own, and you know, I'm proud of you to hear that. And like you said, I saw some of it firsthand, you know. It's like, how do you wrestle with that, and how do you cope with, like, Lord, you gave me all this, and now, like, it doesn't feel like you're sustaining me, and like, and how do I not feel the way that I'm feeling, and then for him to like knock you over the noggin and be like, well, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there like wrestling with your ego, I'm sure, just going, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He's like, I made you. I gave you the ability to sing. Mm-hmm. The love that you have for singing in the truck is because I gave it to you. And, you know, we, especially men, like, we don't like coming to that resolution, but it's healthy. And, you know, obviously there's things in store for you. No pun intended down the road, but yeah, that just makes me happy to hear. And that whole spiel is like the reason why it makes sense for you to be on here for us. Cause like, regardless of how this TV show goes and stuff like that, I think that's the part of Adam Sanders that people like really need to know is like, it hadn't always been easy. Like, even for someone like me looking at your career, there's things I'm like, dang, I wish I had that. But at the same time, you know, I'm not envious of some of the other stuff, you know. Yep. And I guess with that being said, who called you for the road, and like, how'd all that work out? And I'd love to know how it ended.
Well, it was probably about 6 months after I kind of took my hands off the wheel and just sort of said, we're going into this thing blind. And I get a phone call out of the blue one day from a guy named Chris Alderman, who is Blake Shelton's production manager. And I think he actually emails me and he says, hey, can I pitch you for a show? And I just replied, sure, man. That's awesome.
You're right.
Had no idea what it is. Like, no expectation. Sure. Doesn't hear anything. 6 months goes by, and I start getting reached out by casting directors for the road. And they explained to me what this show is going to be, which is they were looking for 12 artists who have made a career out of like playing music, and basically they were looking for people that they felt like just needed like the spotlight in the moment. They've kind of had it all put together, and you know, guys like myself who's never signed a record deal that just kind of needs a little bit of a push. And they said, you guys are going to go out and open for Keith Urban for 8 shows, and you're going to be able to play original music, full band, and the fans are going to judge your performances, and they're going to determine who continues and who goes home. And so for me, I loved that concept because I had never in a million years thought about doing any kind of TV singing competition show. Like, if someone would have asked me to go, try The Voice or any of that, like, just was not my thing. But this was a whole different thing that made me think, okay, well, if I want to be a touring musician anyways, and I can go open for Keith Urban and make new fans, and I play my original music full band, if nothing else, I can go play 8 shows with them, and like that's a win for me.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And so I honestly, it just felt right in my spirit from day one about it. And I thought, okay, 5 years ago, I probably would have said, I ain't going to go do this junk, this cheesy thing. But again, at this point, ego's out of it, and I had no expectations. And so like I just knew that I felt something in my heart and my spirit to lean into it. So I went in with like very open, minded, and we go to LA and go to the callbacks, and they, asked me to be a part of the show. And I'll never forget, we're sitting in the room at callbacks, and I'd played a couple songs acoustic in front of Blake and the whole CBS crew, and the one of the main lead producers looked at me, and his name's Lee, and he said, Adam, he's like looking at like my stat sheet, and he's like, man, you've accomplished so much. Why this? Like, why do you want to do this? And I said, I feel like this gives me a moment that I've never had in my career. I've always had this like small, steady increase in followers and like recognition and different things, but I've never had like that, like just moment of like, okay, like here we are. And I said, I just, that's what I'm doing this for. And he was like, okay. And so we started out on the road, and man, lasted for 10 weeks straight. We were out. We didn't come home during that 10 weeks, which is a long time to be on the road. And man, just very, very fortunate for the opportunity.
Pretty freaking awesome.
Yep.
So, with that being said, do we know anything else?
Well, I mean, we won the road, which is great.
He won it.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about, man. I got to play the Ryman Auditorium for the finale, which was a dream come true. I'd never played the Ryman. And again, man, I truly believe in my heart that God placed me on the road for a reason, because I can promise you guys, like, everything that I thought and visualized how this thing was going to roll out, I swear to you, everything was exactly the way this thing played out. From I knew the first show who I felt like was going to be the finalist. I felt like I had something different from everyone as far as like my experience that I brought to this. And I was very strategic with like what songs I played when and where. And I saved some of what I thought was my better songs for later in the competition instead of like front loading stuff. And little things that, throughout the night, like at the finale, man, I laid in bed and I thought, all right, back up. Second show in. So Gretchen Wilson is our tour manager, right, for this whole road show. And second show in on rehearsal, she comes up to me and she says, hey, I think you need to do a Brooks and Dunn song. And I said, I'm saving that for the finale. And she said, how do you know you're going to make it to the finale? And I said, I don't. I said, but I know if I make it there, I have to have a moment to win this. And she kind of was like, okay, all right.
Hey,
so
mad respect.
Fast forward, we get to the Ryman. And I picked a song, Brooks and Dunn song, That Ain't No Way to Go. And I had this I visualized what it would look like on TV, and at the end of that song, it just holds this big long note out, that ain't no way to go, and the band comes out, and I thought like holding a note like that, like on TV and make it real cinematic, like that would look good for TV, and it's a 90s country song, and there's a lot of 90s fans, and so I thought, all right, that's my cover. And then I picked a song called All Summer Long for my original. And I thought in my mind, how can I get the crowd involved with my performance? And I knew that was going to be the deciding factor. And so it just so happened that I'm the third artist to come out that night. The other two finalists went before me, and so I knew that was an advantage. And so I walk out on the stage and I say, first thing I do is I thank all the band and the crew and everybody that was a part of this whole thing. Because, man, we'd been out for 10 weeks straight. Like, we were grinding. And they were the real reason why all this put together. I mean, the band learned all these songs. They played for all the artists. They played for Keith Urban when he, like, performed every night. And I told the crowd, I said, I don't know what happens here tonight. I said, but I can promise you two things. One, I'm going to give you everything I got on the stage for the next 3 minutes. Two, it is my goal to bring back an era of music that changed my life and is why I'm standing on this stage tonight. So if we got any 90s country fans at the Ryman, I need you to get on your feet. And the whole Ryman stood up. And I was like, all right, that's good. So go to my original, and it's a song called All Summer Long, which is a very tempoed, four on the floor kind of thing. And I thought that I needed to do this song because I felt like it worked with a Keith Urban crowd. And that was one of the things you had to think about, was what does a Keith Urban audience want to hear? And so I picked this song that kind of maybe leaned into some of like his sound and stuff. And I'm thinking in my mind, typically, and you guys would know this, like if you're playing a 45-minute set, you're going to have time to sort of talk and vamp and like get the crowd to clap over, while they're just sitting there like playing the intro real low. And I thought, how can I do this? Because we were handcuffed to where we had to play cut downs of our songs. We couldn't play the full versions for time restrictions. So I literally, on my original, I had a minute and a half, which was a dry start, no intro, and like literally verse, chorus out. That was it. So I don't have a lot of time to like set up anything. And so I told the engineer on the side stage, I said, as soon as That Ain't No Way is finished, feed me the click in my ear for All Summer Long. I said, I got a plan I want to try. So the Brooks and Dunn song ends. I hear the click in my ear, the tempo going. And I told the crowd, I said, tonight is what dreams are made of. I said, this is all I've ever thought about doing is performing on the Ryman stage. And I said, I want to make a memory that I'll never forget for the rest of my life, regardless of what happens. And I said, we're going to do this together, just you and me, no band. So I got this click going. So I start clapping on beat for 4 bars, and they're all clapping, standing. And I turn back and I look at the drummer, and he's like 2, 3, 4, and we go into the verse. And I felt like that is what made me win the show, because I got them involved in what I was doing. And man, it was surreal. Like we're on the stage at the end of all of it, and everybody's going home, and it's all kind of behind the scenes of how this whole thing plays out, and end up winning. They give the results for from the night, and Keith Urban walks up to me and kind of like leans over, and he's like, you played this like a fiddle, and then walked away. And I was like, bro, so such a cool, validating and, grateful thing, to be a part of and to walk away and have won it.
Pretty freaking sick.
God dang. The winner of the road, right?
Wild.
Here, dude. Congrats.
Thank you.
And I'd like, so many thoughts. First of all, you were the third one out that night, so your 3-minute curse ended up getting broken right there.
Hey, there you go. Hey, there's some good mojo.
And then also, it sounds like, based on everything you're saying about what you did and how you thought about it going into it and what you wanted to do, and even telling the crowd, like, you want to bring back this feeling that made you love it. To me, it looks like, when I look at the back part of this story that you just brought up about all the hard stuff you went through and having this moment, even with the record deal, and going, man, like, I don't have a brand, I don't have a thing, and you had to figure that out. It sounds to me like God was letting you figure all that out so that you could get to a place like this, to where when it really mattered, you had it figured out.
Without a doubt, I would not have been ready for this moment had I had not went through what I went through. And that is what separated me from being able to win this, was all that years of just grind and experience and being able, small things like, again, we're doing cut down versions of songs. The band would say, hey, here's how the arrangement, we think you should do your song. We have to stay under a minute and a half. And I would look at it and say, hey, real quick, can we change this, these 2 bars of 1 to a 1, push of 4 and back to a 1? The language that you need to speak, and some of the other contestants weren't able to sort of do that. So because of my experience, I could make fast decisions, and I could also think, all right, I'll play this song with this song because they pair together, or, like I could see it all like kind of play out. And so you're right. But I also will tell you, man, every single day of that experience for 10 weeks, every day I would wake up, Lord, I don't know what happens here, and I'm good either way. I promise you.
Yeah.
And even walking on that stage that night to do the finale, I said, if I came this far and I get third place, I'm cool with it.
Dude, isn't there so much more freedom in that?
It is. Like it's, I'm telling you, my biggest fault of my career, I think, is because I've wanted it too much.
Yeah.
Like squeezing the life out of it. Like,
For sure.
And it's almost like when you turn loose of it a little bit, man, like it's like slow down to be fast in a way.
Golly.
It literally, like it has changed just the way that I think about things. And even moving forward, man, like to have won some money that I won, $250,000, a slot at Stagecoach, being offered a record deal, and some other things, some other shows that come with it. Everybody's asking me like, what's next? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know that I won the road. I know that it's Christmas time. I want to enjoy some Christmas time. I'm going to go to Texas and I'm going to deer hunt for a couple days.
I bet your family's like, we about to get good gifts this year, baby.
Yeah.
Matter of
Adam's
fact,
getting
y'all
a good
adopted.
gift. I'm about to go kill me a
about
big
to
old
say,
deer
yeah.
somewhere.
When are you going?
I'm going back down to Effie Hill Ranch that I'll go to. I've been there several years. It's about 2 hours south of Dallas.
When are you going?
I'm going the day after Christmas.
Come on, dude.
I'm going to go through the 31st. So
I appreciate you sharing even the hard parts, and then that's what makes this podcast. This is why we do this. But I think there's a lot of encouragement in that because, I can speak for Tyler probably, and obviously I'm saying this for myself, but probably a lot of other listeners, like to the part of your story where you're like, man, I just felt like I'd have a really good year, and then the next year would suck, and then I'd get it back, and then it would suck, and then I'd get to this point where I'm like, do I even do this anymore?
Yep.
Like, I felt that. I feel it now. I think he probably has gone through that. I'm sure people that are not even in the music industry that listen to this are like, yeah, I had a really good year being a lawyer last year, and then the next year freaking sucked. And then, so it's encouraging because there's just something to be said about that, because I think no matter where you are, who you are, what you're doing, like, it sounds like from most people that we've had on here is like, you win when you don't quit.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point of going, I just can't do this without you, God. So, like, instead of me even trying, like, I'm still going to work hard, but, like, I'm just going to take my hands off of white knuckling so hard the steering wheel. It seems like that's when God's like, oh, okay, finally. Now you're letting me have room to work, and I can do things that you actually had on your heart that you were just not letting me do.
Yeah.
Another
thing, too, that I thought about that really helped me out a lot was when I identified that writing songs, recording songs, releasing music, playing shows is what I do. And it's what I will always do, no matter to the success that comes with it. I will always write songs if I never write another number one, or I never get another hold, or if I lose a publishing deal, or I will always play shows, regardless if that's to 50,000 people or 150 people at the listening room. That's just what I do. It's what I enjoy to do, and so. I played the game for a lot of years of, Lord, if you can just help me do this, I'll do this. Like the bargaining with God, I played that game so good.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I can honestly, and I've also said before in my past, like in my younger years, oh yeah, like he's got this, like I've said that.
Yeah.
But I didn't truly mean it.
Nope.
Like, anytime it started like trend back up, I'd want to start wrapping my arms back around it, And so now, like, I can, again, I've jokingly said, if my biggest claim to fame is I won a TV show called The Road, and I've got 2 number ones and a top 15 and a top 10, and that's all I ever do, I'm 1,000% good with it.
Yeah, bro. I mean, you should be. First of all, it's massive. It's not like none of those things are small feats. If you would have never even gone on the road, you should have been able to say that, I mean, I think a lot of people that are younger listen to this, or even that are seasoned and have been here for a long time, if they heard you say that, they'd be like, yeah, me too.
Yep.
I'd be good with that too.
And isn't that crazy how like it's such a perspective of, the old saying of, the guy that, just got a publishing deal. All he wants is a song recorded.
Yeah.
And then the guy that got the song recorded, all he wants is a single. And the guy that got the single, all he wants is 2, number ones. And then it's like, it's this never-ending cycle. And we are in the NFL, essentially. Like, we are at the 0.1% of this.
Right. Yeah.
And we're all good enough to be on the field. There's just some things that happen. Are you in the wrong offense? Like, are you a stud running back, but you're a spread offense? Like, you're not a ground and pound. Like, so like, it's just, it's crazy to think about, because you're right. A lot of people would say, I would fall over in my grave to have 2 number ones, and then there's other people that's like, well, Luke Bryan's had 30 number ones, and he's trying to get to 31. It's like he's trying to get it. There's always a level. So
everybody we've had on for the most part, it's been an artist. We end up saying this conversation ends up being a part of this podcast.
Yep.
Every time, because we all know it, and we're all like, and it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. It's good for ambition. It's good for working hard, but like internally, it's not good. It ends up becoming a problem at some point. But when you step back and go, I got to look at this differently. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know about you in that whole situation. My situation was not like, I didn't have those massive things going on, but I was like thinking was like first good success for me. And it felt like it got taken away from me. And it being on the other side of that though, like I can honestly look at that and be like, dude, I was being saved from it not happening, because if it would have happened then, it would have killed me. It would have been like detrimentally not good for my life.
1,000%. I would not be the human I am today had I continued early. Like as I look back, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think God gave me success early to get established in life and give me a little bit of financial support. Because I'm telling you guys, like, I grew up in a double wide trailer my whole life. My dad lived in a single wide trailer when I first got here. Like, it was pretty lean times. Having a couple number ones did help me get at least established in life a little bit. And then it was like, all right, we're going to rein this back, because the route I would have taken had I continued to just climb the ladder, I would have not been the guy that I am today. So I really believe in a lot of protection from a lot of that stuff. And so I don't know. It's not my job to question why things work out the way they work out. I've just always tried to play the hand I'm dealt, in a way, and like make the best of it. And I can tell you though, I'm very grateful for where I am, and for again, because there were times that I didn't know if I'd play the Ryman, but to walk out on that stage and play it. Now everything I do is just a more appreciative, that I get to still do this, to be 37 years old and still be hanging around and still doing what I love every day,
Yeah, it's awesome, bro.
Pretty crazy.
Awesome story, dude. I mean, I feel blessed just to be here, being your buddy, and like having to, or having the option to just sit down and have this conversation with you is,
Well, yeah, man. I can honestly say, Tyler, you've been a guy that I've leaned on a lot through the years, and you are one of the few people that we've had some really in-depth conversations, sometimes, and I just appreciate your heart for that kind of stuff. And I mean, I remember this guy showed up at my house one night out of the blue. He just came over and said, "Hey, I just come over to tell you that I loved you."
Sounds about right.
Literally,
Sounds about right.
And that means a lot, and so, man, I'm just I'm very grateful to be your friend, and hopefully get to know you a little bit more. And obviously, if you guys are that close, you're got to be an awesome dude. And so, man, I just you guys are doing such a great thing here with this. It's coming from a really genuine place, and I think there's so many guys that are out there that are manly men that need to kind of hear some of these things, and from different people. And so, man, I just however I can help in any way, you guys, especially you, Tyler, you've been there for me in the past. So, dude, I really appreciate your friendship.
Dude, back at you. Thank you for coming here.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't know what the future holds, but I'm sure God's not done with Adam Sanders, and I'm excited to see what he does with you, man. And Jasper and I want to tell you congrats.
Thank you
on the win. You know, it's not like you said, it's not the end of the world. It's not the whole world. It ain't everything, but dude, it's awesome, and we're gonna celebrate that with you. And I guess that's not public news right now as we're recording this, but it will be by the time that it's released. Yeah. So
dude.
Got a little sneak peek.
I feel cool, bro. I felt cool. Hey, I felt cool at Tyler's wedding whenever you weren't on the road and you just talked to me and my girlfriend, and I thought that was cool. So now I feel really cool. You know?
I'll sign your autograph. You over there?
Oh, actually, you actually do have to. All of our guests sign the guitar over there, so you will have to do that.
You're perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We're gonna auction it off as soon as you walk out. But no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I got to figure out how to put up my signature in the road. You know, winner of the first season of the road. I got to figure out a way to put.
You need to get some of those ink
Yeah.
Stamps or whatever.
Heck yeah.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Adam Sanders, everybody.
Hey, this will be the first time I say this. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've waited 23 episodes to tell somebody to subscribe.
Yeah.
So here's the call to action, baby.
Come on.
GodDog.
GodDog.